I was in school when I got a call from home asking me to come back immediately. I rushed back home to see my mother immovably sick on the bed. She was unable to lift a finger. We rushed to the nearest hospital and unfortunately she needed immediate assistance. And now the only thing that was left to do was to get an ambulance to move her to a different branch, and someone had to go with her in that ambulance. So I did. Honestly, from when we came home to when we went to the new branch, I had the most unexpected and traumatic 45 minutes. Being 15 and not having anything to worry about was very easy. And then watching my mom in unbearable pain in an ambulance by myself was just too much to take too fast. Finally, we reached the hospital. It was a long process and I had to do it all alone. Later, she was in her ward with drips. I couldn't sleep that night. It was so hard to process everything. With that mental state, I couldn't concentrate on my exams. And in school, all the teachers asked so many questions, but I was clueless because I've never been this lost. I come back home just thoughtless, and my dog, Teddy, was sitting on my bed. He looked very sad, and I figured it was the absence of my mom in the house. He was sick at the time, and I saw him just getting anxious and rapidly losing energy. A few minutes later, we lost Teddy, and I lost the one guy that meant something beyond what words could express. He used to console me when my parents couldn't. He was the only thing in the entire universe that I knew would never let go of me, and he had just left me. I felt like I lost everything. My brother was surprisingly calm and took it very well. After about 20 minutes, he started wheezing, and he couldn't breathe at all for about a whole minute. My dad and I needed to take him to the same hospital my mom was in. He couldn't feel his face or his tongue and was getting very fatigued. I honestly couldn't even imagine how my dad was at that moment, driving him to the hospital, hearing him say this, simultaneously processing Teddy's passing and worrying about my mom. He tested positive for viral fever. They put mom and my brother in beds next to each other. A few weeks later, my mom and brother were back home. Teddy was buried in the front garden, and I had flunked most of my mocks and my teachers were at me. I explained what happened to my coordinator, and she kinda helped me get through it by letting me off for that series and told me she was ready to help in any way. It was December. I was much better but still not okay with what happened to Teddy, and my dad wanted to get another dog as a coping mechanism, which I didn't really approve of. It took him 5 months, but I finally agreed to get another dog. But I had to get over a great deal of guilt to do this, but I also knew I couldn't stick on to something. So I went through a great deal of mental discomfort, but the way I dealt with this was to surround myself with people who could actually help me rather than just say, "It'll get better, don't you worry," or "Don't worry, I'm always there for you." I mean, I couldn't agree more. Those are comforting words, but that isn't going to help you heal. At the most, it might light you up for a minute. I had my dad and my best friend. Without these two people, I honestly don't even know how or if I would have gotten through. My mom is fine now. I have the cutest 3-month Rottweiler pup, Rio, a stronger bond with my friend, and most importantly, I've learned how to deal with scenarios like these that will help me. In conclusion, anything that might have happened shouldn't be what sticks with you, but rather the learning and fixing process.